We're talking about cemeteries today. I'll list the 5 cemeteries with a Perrysburg, Ohio address, and then I'll explain the timing of this episode and the connection between cemeteries and the timing. Welcome to the Perrysburg Podcast, episode 119. I'm your host, Perrysburg resident Kim Newlove. The Perrysburg Podcast is a resource for Perrysburg residents. We talk about what's in Perrysburg and why people like to live here. Our website is perrysburgpodcast.com. Now, we're going to get started with the cemeteries right away. From west to east, here's the list. Number 1 is a private one. It is called Lyons Cemetery. Lyons Cemetery is on West River Road near Roachton Road here in Perrysburg. Please note, I will put the street address for each cemetery in the show notes. I will not be sharing the addresses as we go through the list. Back to Lyons. Lyons is a small cemetery and not accessible to the public. Gary Franks actually mentioned this cemetery in episode 104 of the Perrysburg podcast. Number 2 on my list is the Fort Meigs Union Cemetery, which I just call Fort Meigs Cemetery. And this one is located on West Indiana Avenue at the corner of West Indiana and West Boundary Street. This is a very, very large cemetery. The cemetery's on both sides of West Indiana Avenue. Number 3 is St. Rose Cemetery on Avenue Road. Avenue Road is also known as State Route 795. This cemetery is located across the street from Woodlands Park. Number 4 on my list is Hufford Cemetery, and that's on Wyandotte Place. Wyandotte Place is a small residential street, and that's located off 795 near I-75. It's actually just like a mile down the road, a mile east of St. Rose Cemetery. What's at Hufford Cemetery? Very few gravestones, and nothing modern that I can see. The 5th and final cemetery with a Perrysburg mailing address is Rest Lawn Memorial Park on Genoa Road. Genoa Road is also known as State Route 163. Rest Lawn Memorial Park is probably about 10 minutes east of the Route 20 Home Depot, which is on the east side of Perrysburg. I would say that Rest Lawn is actually in Stony Ridge, but it does have a Perrysburg mailing address. Rest Lawn Memorial Park is big. It might be as big as, if not bigger than, Fort Meigs Union Cemetery. It might be bigger, actually, because it has a mausoleum building, and there's a lot of spaces filled in the mausoleum building. Other than having a mausoleum building, this cemetery is different because I would say about 95% of the grave markers are flush with the ground. I'm used to stones that stick up 2 to 3 feet above the ground with a name on them, but not at Rest Lawn. They have their grave markers on the ground. And that's it for my list of 5 cemeteries with a Perrysburg, Ohio mailing address. Now let's move on to the timing of this episode. There are 2 occasions that line up with this time of the year. This episode publishes on October 31st, 2025, and one of the occasions is not Halloween. What 2 occasions am I talking about then? They are the Day of the Dead, also known as Dia de los Muertos. I don't speak Spanish, but that is Spanish. And then the other one is the Christian holiday known as All Saints' Day. I'll give you a brief overview of both of these occasions, and then I'll end with a personal belief that I want to share with you. First up is the Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos. I don't speak Spanish, I'm German and Swiss, but I tried. All right, I watched a movie this month called Coco. It was an animated movie by Disney and Pixar. Again, it's called Coco. And that inspired me to learn a little bit more about the Day of the Dead. I learned that Mexican and Central American cultures typically celebrate the Day of the Dead between October 31st, which, as you're listening to this today, it's October 31st, to November 2nd. So they typically celebrate the Day of the Dead between October 31st and November 2nd every year. It is a multi-day holiday honoring and remembering deceased loved ones with traditions, like building and decorating altars, cleaning and decorating grave sites, and remembering your lost loved ones with food, music, and parades. If you have not seen the movie Coco yet, I highly recommend it, even if you're an adult. Disney and Pixar put together a great animated film. Coco is great. I just watched it again this month for the second time, and I loved it. I also learned a lot from it. And the older I get, the more easily I cry, so watch the end with a box of tissues. I know I needed some. And the second occasion that I mentioned is the Christian holiday known as All Saints' Day. All Saints' Day is November 1st every year, but we tend to observe All Saints' Day on the first Sunday in November instead. This year, it's November 2nd. I have to go to the mid-year meeting of the Ohio Pharmacists Association in Hilliard, Ohio on November 2nd. Yeah, it's a Sunday. So I am skipping All Saints' Day, the celebration at my church. But luckily, they have the Facebook live stream so I can catch it on the replay. What do we do on All Saints' Day? We remember our faithful friends and family who have died by bringing a picture to church to recognize them. Also, members of our congregation who have died since last All Saints' Day are recognized on All Saints' Day this year. And we also celebrate other known saints, faithful followers of Jesus who have set a good example for us. When I was growing up in Pemberville, Ohio, at Bethlehem Lutheran Church, we had a bell tower. And I think I remember them tolling the bell, grabbing the rope and tolling the bell along with the name of each saint. We also sang a famous hymn called For All the Saints. I can't sing it because I think I'll get dinged for copyright infringement, but I do have a link to a choir singing it in the show notes on perrysburgpodcast.com. If you've never heard it, you are missing out. It is a good one. My research online says that All Saints' Day provides a sense of hope and comfort, looking forward to the resurrection of the body and the promise of eternal life. I can hear it in this hymn, so I want you to listen to the hymn, see if you feel hope and comfort too. That's all I have for All Saints' Day. The last thing I'd like to share today is a personal belief. I have a personal belief that you are never truly gone as long as someone still speaks your name. And that aligns nicely with both All Saints' Day and the Day of the Dead. So, my friends, say those names and remember your dead. Thank you for listening to episode 119 of the Perrysburg Podcast. The show notes are on perrysburgpodcast.com. In the show notes, you'll find that list of 5 cemeteries in Perrysburg and a link to my church, Lutheran Church of the Master. You can head over there on Sunday, November 2nd, 2025, with a picture of the family members or friends that you would like to remember on All Saints' Day. Also, in the show notes, you will find the name of the movie that I talked about today, which is Coco, and the names of the 2 special occasions that line up with this weekend, the Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos, and All Saints' Day. If you know someone who would like this episode, please share it with them. If you'd like to be notified by email each time a new episode of the Perrysburg Podcast comes out, sign up for the newsletter on perrysburgpodcast.com. You can also subscribe to or follow this show on your favorite podcast player and YouTube to get each new episode right when it comes out. Thanks for listening today. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.